Welcome back, Honors 10. Today our goal is to take a look at pronoun antecedent agreement and to take a look at the way that some antecedents can trick us into using the wrong pronoun. Now it's a lot like subject-verb agreement, but pronouns have to agree with the word that they replace, which is called their antecedent. So the basic rule is that they have to agree in both gender and in number. So if I don't know the gender of my antecedent, that's when I use his or her. If it's a plural antecedent, then I'm going to use they. Some of our antecedents can be tricky though, just like yesterday's tricky subjects. And truly, the same rules apply in both cases. So the first way we can have a tricky antecedent is to have an indefinite pronoun be the antecedent for another pronoun. And that same list that we talked about yesterday of indefinite pronouns that were singular when they were working as subjects, they're still going to be singular when they're working as the antecedent. So we just need to make sure that we review those lists and apply that knowledge to choosing the correct pronoun as well.
All right, in this first example, his or her or their are our choices for pronouns, and they're referring to the antecedent everybody. Everybody is always singular. It's an indefinite pronoun, so I choose his or her. However, in the second example, his or her or their is referring to few, not runners, because that isn't a prepositional phrase. Few is always plural, so there I choose the plural pronoun there.
The second trick of an antecedent, just like subject-verb agreement, can be a compound antecedent. And so there too, just like subject-verb agreement, it depends on the conjunction that's being used. If two antecedents are joined by and, then they're plural, and you choose the plural pronoun they, their, or them. If they're joined by or nor, the pronoun should agree with whatever antecedent is closest to it.
When I look at compound antecedents, here his or her or their is referring to two people, the ranger and the guide. Here it matters what conjunction they're joined with. And makes them plural, so I choose the plural pronoun there. However, when I look at two antecedents like Heidi and Beth that are joined by nor, then the antecedent has to agree with whatever then the pronoun needs to agree with whatever antecedent is closest to it. So Beth is singular and feminine, so we would choose her. This idea is the same when the conjunctions are or. So here, these pronouns are referring to both teachers and student. Since they're joined by or, I pay attention to the one closest. Teachers is plural, so I choose the plural there. However, if I were to flip that, I still have the or, but if student comes next, because that's singular, then I would have to say his or her.
The third tricky way an antecedent can make us choose the wrong pronoun is if it's a collective antecedent. Remember, those collective nouns are words like team or jury or class or flock. There we have to look at what that group is doing. If they're all acting together, they're singular. If they're acting as individual parts, they're plural. So if they're singular, we choose his, her, or its. If they're plural, we choose they or them.
For collective nouns, I need to again use sentence clues. Its or their is referring to the collective noun class. I don't know if class is singular or plural until I know if it's working all together as one group or as individual parts. The only clue that I have in this sentence is the fact that trip is singular. Since they're all going to one place at the same time, they're acting as one group, making them singular, so I choose the singular pronoun its. For number 2, though, its or their is referring to the collective noun team. Team can be either singular or plural. I have to look at the word jerseys. They're wearing different jerseys, individual jerseys. So they are plural in this sense, so I would use the plural pronoun there.
The last way we can be tricked by antecedent is with relative clauses. Just like yesterday, that was the hardest piece, and we have to pay attention to the pronouns that we use in our clauses as well. Once we figure out if the relative pronoun is singular or plural by looking at what the clause modifies, we have to make sure that the verb in the clause agrees with singular or plural, as well as any pronouns used in the clause have to agree with what the clause is modifying. And this is where it can sometimes look weird on the page.
Clauses are perhaps the hardest point to choose both subjects and pronouns correctly. In this case, his or her or their is referring to the pronoun who. The antecedent to this pronoun is this pronoun, who. However, who is referring to students. Since students is plural, who is plural, and I should choose the plural pronoun their best. But in this second example, his or her or their, which is also referring to who is referring to anyone. Anyone is singular, which makes who singular, which makes me choose the singular pronoun his or her.